All right, we're back at it, 6-6 day 2. Just a couple of examples, and then I have a worksheet posted in Schoology that you can download, write on it, and then upload it to Schoology. If you're not sure how to do that, I have a link posted in Schoology as well. Okay, so this goes back to remembering how to deal with exponents that are raised to a power. So in order to do this problem, what we need to do is to think about what would this mean if I were to write it out using the power of exponents. This time I'm going to try to write it with my keypad. It's just a little bit tricky for me, but I think it doesn't lag as much. So it would be multiplied here by 7/8. Okay, and then we would have to recall, like, how do we deal with when we multiply fractions, excuse me. So when I multiply straight across, so this would be 28 and then over 40. Okay, well, both of those are divisible by 2, obviously, so if we just divided each of them by 2, we would at least have one more step that we could see if we could reduce this at all, and I would get 14 over 20. Well, again, these are also divisible by 2, so I can just keep going here. So I would get 7 over 10. Okay, and there's a couple ways you can write your answer. One is just say x to the 7/10. The other way, we talked about this last lesson, last video, is the bottom number here becomes your index. So I could write 10 here, and then our radical sign, and then we put x. And then the 7 is in the numerator, so that becomes underneath the radical. So a couple of ways you can write that. This would be the probably suggested way that I would recommend. Let's go on to another example here. So again, what we need to know on this problem is that we need to break this into pieces based on what is like terms. So I'm going to put my boxes around some of these guys that are like terms. And finally, this guy. All right, so let's go ahead and simplify at least the numbers here. So 2 divided by 10 is just going to be a fraction. We can divide each of those by 2. And we get the fraction 1 over 5. Okay, next we're going to go to our other pieces. I'm just going to do a little side work with the x's. So again, when I have an x to the 1/3 divided by x to the 3/4, the exponent rule is that I will subtract. So I will rewrite this. X, it's a little sloppy, 1/3, and then minus 3/4. Well, again, we need to have common denominators, and it looks like our 12s, sorry, that's going to be 4. Let me erase this. That. 4 down here. So to write those both in terms of 12, so this would be a 4 here, and then subtract, so I'm going to make this a 12, which would make this be a negative, or just 9, and when we subtract, we would get x to the negative 5/12. So x to the negative 5/12 would look like this, we would say, again, we're going to put the x power to the -5, and then our index would be that 12. Okay, but again, remember that negative is going to make that whole thing go on to the bottom. So we should write this as 1 or 12 to the root 1 over x to the 5th. Okay, well, the 12th root of 1 is just 1, so we can leave that 1 up there, and then on the bottom, I'll leave that 12th, and then put the x to the 5th in there. And then we'd have to do the same thing with our y value. So I'm going to choose red. Scroll down just a tad. So I'm going to use black this time. So we'd get y to the 3/10 minus a y to the -3 fifths. Which I didn't have to write that y there. That's not supposed to be there. Erase this. So this would be to the -3/5. Okay, I don't know why we switched colors here. So this would be y to the 3/10 minus a minus, which turns into a plus, 3/5. And then again, we do need to change denominators so that they're both in denominator of 10. So we get y over 3/10 plus 6/10, which gives me my y to the 9/10. And just remember that the index here would become a 10, so this would be the 10th root of y to the 9th. There is no negative in this, therefore this whole piece will go in the numerator way up there. So we're going to do the 10 to the root y to the 9th. So this would be the answer, and of course you could make it look a little bit prettier, but that's fine for now. So there's a worksheet. I'd like you to just take that, print it off if possible. If you have an iPad or an iPhone, you can always just use it on there and then upload it. Again, message me if you need help. I'll be around at our normal class time to go over questions.